Welcome back to another episode of Breakdown for Superman and Lois Season 2. Today we're talking about Episode 7, already about halfway through the season. Actually, I believe over halfway now at this point. Zooming right through this one. And wow. Just wow. Things are heating up here because if you watched my video last week, you know that I called last week's episode kind of like the drama episode where there was like all the drama and emotions were high and like everything was going down. Well, this episode, I think I'd call this the action episode because there's so much action in this episode. And so we got a lot to talk about. We definitely have a lot to talk about here. So, of course, quick spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode yet, definitely make sure to go check it out on the CW. But for now, let's go ahead and break down Superman and Lois Season 2, Episode 7. So the episode follows Superman, now locked up with his brother Tal-Rho in a Red Sun prison after that huge cliffhanger in last week's episode of Anderson arresting him for supposed betrayal and treason of the United States, even though it was completely ridiculous, not even the case, but whatever, it happened anyway. So that's kind of like the big thing that we're dealing with in this episode. But then we also have John, of course, with this whole ex-kryptonite thing, where in this episode, Candace, of course, gives him some more after his big win as a starting quarterback in last episode. She's now talking about, like, oh, you were so sexy and, like, you know, all that stuff. Like, you know, good for him. But, so she's providing him with a new stash here. And he says that he's done with it because, of course, also in last episode, Jordan confronted him about it. He found out about it and he told him to stop. So John decided that officially he's going to stop doing ex-kryptonite. But, of course, this is when the police show up. You got the police dogs. They spot the ex-kryptonite and John takes the blame for it. So this is a big thing for him in this episode where he takes the blame for this. And he does end up kind of telling the truth to Lois, everything except for who's actually supplying him with this. So he's really taking the fall for Candace, which honestly, I don't know why he is at this point, because clearly she is not a good girlfriend if she's making him go through this. But yeah, so we got this and he's just being ripped apart because this has been like the most wholesome, nicest character throughout the first season. And then in this season, he's just been going down a darker path, and you just see him going through so much pain and emotion. And I do love, though, how you got to see that more emotional side of this character in this episode, because like how you had Lana telling Lois about how sometimes you need to just be there for them, just listen and stuff like that. And then we actually got that conversation between Lois and John, where John was going on about how everybody in this family is great, and I just wanted to be great too, of course referencing the fact that both Clark and Jordan have superpowers. Lois is a world-famous journalist, and Jonathan, he's got nothing. He plays football, but he wasn't even the starting quarterback. So he just wanted to be special like the rest of his family. So it's really, really cool getting to see that more deeper, more emotional side of this character that we haven't really seen before. But speaking of emotional, we also have Sarah and the Cushing family in this episode where, of course, the Cushings are dealing with now Kyle moving out, and Sarah is especially hit by that very, very hard, to the point where she doesn't feel like she can talk to Jordan about it, so she calls up her friend Aubrey and meets up with her to talk about things. Now, Aubrey, as you may remember, is the girl that kissed Sarah at camp. So this is something I honestly didn't think they would be bringing back. I thought that was the end of the storyline in like episode 2 or 3, whatever it was. But no. So Aubrey is back, and I'm not completely sure. Like, they say that they're friends again, and that's great and everything, but just giving off the vibe of this scene, I'm not sure if they're actually just friends or if there's a little bit of flirtation there, and if there's going to be maybe more than friends, and then just gonna feel bad for Jordan again because then he's gonna lose his girl to another girl. So that's really unfortunate. But anyways, guys, without further ado, let's talk about this big thing in this episode with Superman and Tal-Rho, because Anderson is full-on torturing Tal-Rho with a kryptonite neck brace, collar, whatever you want to call it, and Superman ends up giving up Bizarro's location, which of course is the Fortress of Solitude. But then we have Talrow and Supes actually tricking the soldiers into a trap, which then leads to them escaping and revealing the true location of Bizarro, which is not at Superman's Fortress of Solitude, but actually at Talrow's desert fortress. So that was a pretty cool cop-out that honestly I kind of fell for their trick too, with them fighting and everything. And, you think it's all good and everything, until all of a sudden Anderson whips out some X-Kryptonite. And, man, this guy be crazy. Because then he goes and he actually attacks Talrow and Superman in that fortress. And there's this one point where Anderson actually shoots Superman with like 3 or 4 kryptonite bullets, but Talrow ends up taking the hit for that. So he gets shot by kryptonite bullets, and Superman then has to disintegrate them with his laser eyes, flying up to the sun and basically regenerate him. So he saves the day there and saves Talrow's life. But meanwhile, Superman and Talrow's mom actually lets out Bizarro to go fight Anderson. And Anderson ends up using X-Kryptonite to, at first what I thought was just knock out Bizarro. But according to Superman, Bizarro is dead, which I'm not so sure how to feel about this, because at this moment it was a really confusing part of the episode. I thought maybe Talrow was dead. Honestly, I'd rather him be dead, because I'm not sure if he actually is dead though. I really hope he's not, but if it is, I'm kind of upset because I really wanted to see more of Bizarro and see him do more. But for now, I guess Bizarro is dead, which is really unfortunate. But Talrow, he's still alive. He's sent back to prison and everything like that. You can see the relationship between him and his brother kind of starting to reform a bit here, so that's great to see. And also, after being arrested by the U.S. government, Superman is finally free to go, and Clark finally returns home. But when he finds out the news about John and the whole X-Kryptonite thing, he gets mad, like real mad. And so that's really bad. But then our big cliffhanger for this week's episode is Anderson. He is no longer a general for the U.S. military or the DOD or whatever. He is now on the run. He is a fugitive. And he meets up with Ally Allston and gives her the pendant from Bizarro. So that's definitely some bad news. And I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing more X-Kryptonite Anderson with the powers and all that stuff. Because he is, I believe, an original character for this season. But seems like he may be a new henchman-type character for Ally Allston, who, of course, as I mentioned in previous videos, in the comics is a version of Parasite. So I'm not sure if we're going to see her in a full Parasite form either. But I really hope we do. But just based off next week's promo, looks like we're getting a lot of action with this whole other world pendant shadow self. I don't even know what's going on there, but I'm definitely really excited to find out. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this week's episode of Superman and Lois Season 2? Again, this was episode 7. Let me know all your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I keep it up to date on everything goes on in the DC life.